London-born activist Vivian Silva is missing. Much of her work has focused on building peace between Israelis and Palestinians. Her friend John Lyndon, executive director at the Alliance for Middle Eastern Peace, spoke to me earlier.
The last contact that she had with anybody was a WhatsApp message from a little after 11 o'clock local time on Saturday morning when Hamas terrorists had come into her village, her town, Kibbutz Be'eri, right on the Gaza border. We know that they took other people captive. They killed some people. We've had absolutely no contact with her since. Now, the kibbutz was then sort of rescued, I guess, by the IDF later that evening, and people who'd been held hostage in the dinner hall in the kibbutz were released, and we'd assumed Vivian was there amongst them. And she wasn't. So at the moment, we find ourselves in this quite sort of surreal situation of hoping that she was kidnapped and being taken to Gaza, which is quite a thing to say out loud, because 107 bodies were found last night at Kibbutz Be'eri by rescue parties. So there's obviously a process going on now to identify bodies, and this is a very difficult process for us, but for her family, it's unimaginable.
Tell me, if you could, about Vivian, about what she was like and what she was doing.
She is one of the most incredible human beings you could ever meet. So she moved to Israel decades ago from Canada, where she was originally born, and sort of set about building things. Right? She founded a kibbutz in southern Israel. She founded several NGOs and charities focused on bringing Arabs and Jews together inside Israel, Israelis and Palestinians together across border. What's amazing about Vivian is she is perhaps the most expert and impressive peace builder between the Mediterranean and the Jordan, but she wears it really lightly. She has this kind of humility and fun and humor and warmth. And she founded an organization called Women Wage Peace in 2014. She lives right on the border with Gaza. The war in 2014, up until this weekend, was the most devastating we've seen between Israel and Gaza. And her response to it, this shows you what kind of person she is, was to found an NGO to bring women together to try and build Israeli-Palestinian peace. We urge, if she has been kidnapped, her immediate release, as well as the release of all hostages.
What do you want from the Israeli government? I mean, both sort of first steps and then looking to the medium term.
Right now, there is essentially a kinetic reaction to what took place at the weekend, and the sheer magnitude of the violence and the horror and the trauma that it's now visited, I think, upon the entire Israeli people. And it's almost as if the reaction to it has a momentum of its own. I would ask people who are in positions of power to be able to stop and recognize that they do have influence and control and agency over where we go for now.
A briefing given just minutes ago, the Israeli Defense Force said there is no one to talk to. These are not rational people. These are animals.
Yeah, I would really resist that dehumanizing language when applied to Palestinians, because it wasn't clear in that quote whether that was Hamas or Palestinians.
I think they were talking about Hamas.
That is better, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, nobody to talk to also has a more comprehensive definition, and that Hamas is not a monolithic entity. Now, it's clear that both its military wing and its political wing were behind this disgraceful terrorist attack at the weekend, and they've shown us any ambiguity about what Hamas is and what it wants, I think, has been eliminated in recent days. But they nonetheless do have a political leadership which is in exile, as well as a local leadership and a military wing. And we have already heard contradictory statements coming from Hamas members in Beirut versus those who are based in Doha versus those that are based in the Gaza Strip. So when Minister Gallant says there's no one to talk to, I think he means that on a moral level, that Hamas are not worth negotiating with, but it also has a more real definition too, and that who do you actually talk to get these hostages released, and if a deal was agreed, could it be implemented?
You still clearly hold out hope that you will talk to your friend again.
Yeah, because without hope, where are we? I think I will see Vivian again. I think we all will. And it's not worth considering what the alternative is at this point. But I have hope more generally than that as well. I know this sounds incredibly naive in this moment, but this is what Vivian also believes, that as dark as this moment is right now, there is still space and necessity for Israeli-Palestinian reconciliation, of building a vision, a future that is based on that equality and peace she dedicated her life to.
John Lyndon speaking to me a little earlier. You'll have heard